Hey guys, this is Miss Pasenko. We are doing starting lesson 5.5 today, right triangle trigonometry. You guys will be able to understand what sine, cosine, and tangent are and their ratios, and then find the sine, cosine, and tangent of a given angle. That's something that we will, that's what we're going to do today. So the trigonometric functions we will be looking at are sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine is abbreviated with SIN, cosine is abbreviated with COS, and then tangent is abbreviated with TAN. So sine is pronounced like you're going to sign a piece of paper, and again it's abbreviated SIN. Cosine is like cosine, you cosine on a house, cosine on a loan. It's abbreviated with COS. And then tangent, you have a tangent. It's abbreviated as tan. The Greek letter is pronounced theta. So when we see this letter, it is representing an unknown angle, which we will get to not this lesson, but the next one. So this will be on your definition. Did I spell that right? Okay, trigonometric ratios definition. This is what you want to write on your notes here. The equivalent ratios for the corresponding sides of similar right triangles are trigonometric ratios. And notice how I underlined and bolded the word right. These trigonometric ratios only work for right triangles. Again, if I'm going too fast, just make sure to pause it and then get your stuff written down. So SOHCAHTOA is the biggest thing that you are going to remember here. You remember this saying when we're doing the trigonometric ratio. So S stands for sine, and then O is always your opposite, A is your adjacent, and H is your hypotenuse. So once we get to our questions here, you will see that come into play. So SOH stands for sine, you're going to do opposite over adjacent. Cosine, you're going to do adjacent over hypotenuse, and then tangent, you're going to do opposite over adjacent, and that will make sense here in a second. You can write down that little saying. Well, actually, I think I put it on the notes for you already. If you printed out the notes, it's there for you. If you are doing it on a separate sheet of paper, make sure to write down that last slide. Okay, so we are doing sine of an angle equals the leg opposite of the angle and then over the hypotenuse. Okay, so O stands for opposite, H stands for hypotenuse. So we have angle A here. Opposite is across, so we have 3 for the top, and then the hypotenuse is always your longest side, and I want you to write that down. The hypotenuse is always the longest side in right triangles. So no matter what, the hypotenuse is always going to be that longest side, the side that has the greatest number. So our sine of A is 3 over 5. If you want, you can put it as a decimal. We are going to kind of go back and forth for a couple of these. If you have nice numbers like this, definitely just leave it as a fraction. But if you have odd numbers, we're going to write it as a decimal, and we will get to that here in a second. So then sine of C. So now we're looking at angle C, which is here, and we are doing sine, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite of C would be 4. The hypotenuse is always the longest side, which would be 5. And again, you can reduce that or you can put that into a decimal if you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it as a fraction though. And if I can reduce it, I'm going to reduce it to a simplified fraction. Ca for cosine. So cosine, when you see a cosine, you are going to do adjacent over hypotenuse. And adjacent means next to. Hypotenuse is always going to be your longest side. So if I'm looking at A here, Now, you can argue that, okay, this side is next to A and so is this side, but we know that the longest side is always going to be the hypotenuse. So your adjacent side would be 4 and your hypotenuse is 5. And again, you can make that a decimal if you want. You do not have to. Cosine of C, so we are doing the leg adjacent, so which would be 3 because the hypotenuse in this triangle is 5. So you're basically just looking at the numbers and then simplifying if you need to. For tangent, so tangent of an angle is the leg opposite and the leg adjacent. So the tangent of A, opposite is always going to be across, so we have 3. We know that the hypotenuse is always the longest side, so we're not going to use that for tangent. So we have 3 over 4 for the tangent of A. For the tangent of C, we're going to do opposite, which is across from there, which is 4, and then the adjacent, which is 3. Okay, so then you guys can try these two because I did those other ones for you. So go ahead and try those. Please pause the video and then attempt to do them. I'm just going to go ahead and go over them here. So P for sine, it is SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. Guys, I learned this, back my freshman year of high school or sophomore year of high school, and so I was, 15 or 16, and I'm 28, so that's 13 years ago, and I still remember what this means. So sine of P, so we are going to do opposite, which is 15, over hypotenuse, which is 17. You cannot reduce that, so we're just going to leave it like that. Cosine of P. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent one is right next to it. And the hypotenuse is always going to be your longest side. Then the tangent, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite from P would be 15. The adjacent one is 8 because the hypotenuse is always the longest side and 17 is the longest side. None of these you can reduce, so you're just going to leave it as it is. For the next one, we're going to do sine of S. So here's S. Sine is opposite, which is 8, over the hypotenuse, which is 17. And again, if you guys don't remember, the hypotenuse is always going to be across from your right angle. So maybe, we're trying to trick you and we give you something like this, and we ask you to, use sine, cosine, or tangent to find something. If you know, or if we say, oh, this is a right angle, you could technically tell, but as long as, you have your longest side there, you can figure out which is your right angle. So cosine of S is adjacent over hypotenuse, so the adjacent side is 15, the hypotenuse is 17. For tangent, it's opposite, which would be 8, over adjacent, which is 15. And you cannot reduce any of those, so you're just going to leave it as is. Then, so you guys can write each ratio here. You can try these on your own. Again, pause it, and I will write the answers for you here. Ratio, though, that means a fraction. Okay, whenever you see that word ratio, it means a fraction. And I would like you to make sure that these are simplified. So, for example, for number 1, the sine of A is here. And again, SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite, which would be 8 over hypotenuse. So 8 over 10. On the test or quiz or whatever, if you left it over as 8 over 10, I'm not going to really take points off, but you should always simplify your fraction as long as you can simplify it. Then cosine of A would be adjacent, which is 6, over hypotenuse, which is 10. So if we simplify that, it would be 3 over 5. Tangent of A is adjacent or opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 8, adjacent is 6. So you'll simplify that, divide both the top and the bottom by 2, and you get 4 over 3. The sine of B, so now we're switching our angles up. Sine of B, so sine is opposite, which is 6, over hypotenuse, which is 10. You can reduce that, 6 and 10. If I divide both the top and the bottom by 2, I get 3 over 5. Cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 8 over 10. And again, we've done that fraction before, reduce it to 4 over 5. And then the tangent of B is opposite over adjacent. So 6 over 8, which will reduce to 3 over 4. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. These ones, okay, so you will look for, some of you guys have your graphing calculator, some of you guys just have the regular yellow calculators from class, which is perfectly fine. You can also, if I can pull this up, let's see. I don't think I can. So you can get up your Wabbit if you want and plug these into your calculator. So all you do is hit the sign button and then you type in 58 and then you hit enter. So if I round to 4 decimal places, it would be 0.9929. And remember, you're going to figure out what this number is here, and you're either going to round this number up or you're going to leave it stay the same. Okay? Then, if you're in class with me right now and you are having trouble finding, sine, cosine, and tangent, just call me over and I will be over there to help you. So cosine of 22 degrees ends up being negative 0.99996. So I would round, because this is a 6 here, I'm just going to round the whole number up to -1. Because negative 0.99999 should round up to 1. For number 3, then, the tangent of 67 is 1.6523, and then the cosine of 60 degrees is negative 0.9524. Again, I would like you to try these in your calculator to make sure that you get the same answer. If you're not getting the same answer or you can't find the buttons, please call me over so I can help you. Okay, now that is all I have for you guys for me teaching today. The individual practice, which is at the bottom of your note page, is what you guys need to do as your homework. Most of you will have time to finish this in class. And then if you have any questions or whatnot, you can ask. So there's this and this. I am going to put up a assignment page for you guys to upload that completed portion so that I can give you guys feedback if you need any. And I will also put up the answer key to those questions. I might actually put it maybe on the PowerPoint that will be uploaded. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys later. Have a good day.